Yes, good morning. Good morning. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. It's a new week. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're feeling fine. It's still pandemic. We've been doing this almost a year now under pandemic conditions, but it's okay because we found new paradigms to inspire, new paradigms to innovate, to inform the people from a culturally relevant perspective. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. You know where we get it. BeachCityRadio.com, Facebook, all your podcast platforms. What a jam-packed show we have today, and we have turned our focus to education. And before we get to that, we got breaking news. Everywhere you look, you see where our cameras, our consciousness, our attention is pointed back to Minneapolis. And I am just so blessed to have a lot of friends in high places, and I'm just blessed to know, some of the best community activists out there, and they're over there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, boots on the ground. Let's take a moment real quick to check in with Brother Najee Ali to find out what's going on in Minneapolis as the trial is going on for Derek Chauvin. And I'll let him tell you a little bit about it there. Good morning, Brother Najee Ali. How are you today?
Greg J. Hey, good morning, family. How you doing back there in LA?
Man, every day is adventure, but we're doing okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Happy to hear that. So as you said, I am here in the streets, boots on the ground in the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the city where unfortunately our fallen brother, George Floyd, was tortured and murdered last year by ex-police officer Derek Chauvin. So yesterday we had the first day of the trial opening statements, and I was honored to share space with my big brothers and my mentors, Reverend Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, the family attorney, several activists from all across the nation, as well as the family of George Floyd, as we showed a united front to demand justice for George Floyd yesterday.
I watched a good portion of the trial, the opening trial, and I hear them trying to make the big black brute defense. That's something I know they're trying to make Mr. Floyd out to be this really bad criminal, but yet it still doesn't matter what crimes the brother may have committed, may or may not have committed. I don't think the treatment of execution in the streets is not the way. There's some folks that say he might get off though. This officer, what are you feeling?
Well, I can only speak from experience, an experience that I've lived through, as well as yourself, Greg J, and folks of our generation, where nearly 30 years ago, uh, April 29th, 1992, an all white jury acquitted the four white police officers for nearly beating Rodney King to death. And we had a video in that case.
Mm-hmm.
We also had a video of Tamir Rice, 12-year-old child, being shot and killed by a police officer. We
Mm-hmm.
had a video when Eric Garner of New York City was choked to death by police officers. So for me, a videotape does not always mean an automatic guilty verdict. History has shown us that. But I can say that Ben Crump told us, he told the family and leaders in a meeting with him that they were going to slander George Floyd's name. And we saw that yesterday. They're trying to create this fictionary tale that he's like the Black Hulk. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why they were in fear. And that's why Chauvin, as his lawyer said, was trained to do exactly what he did. But we all know
Mm-hmm.
that's a lie. He was not trained to murder people. And that's what he did to George Floyd.
Another thing that struck me is that I mentioned it yesterday. Who knew a mixed martial arts artist would be coming from the gym in the hood? We are just a diverse people in the community, and here you have an expert in. When he sees the assaults happening, he knows exactly what is happening. He knows exactly what is happening to George Floyd's body, and he's telling the officer, "Man, he can't breathe. You got to, scientifically breaking it down." I'm like, who knew? Walking around in the hood, the brother, coming from the mixed martial arts studio.
Yeah.
and encounters us. That's just divine intervention, in my opinion.
Well, Greg, you're right. But I would also add, and we also know that the police dispatcher, she witnessed what was going on through the surveillance feed, and she was so alarmed because she saw George Floyd not moving, and at one point she thought the screen was frozen.
Mm,
But when she realized it wasn't, she actually called in to the supervisor. So we have a police dispatcher calling the police on the police when
mm,
she saw George Floyd being murdered, and she knew that what Chauvin was doing was not police tactics, training techniques. It was murder, and that's why she called the police on Derek Chauvin.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Wow, this is really, really something. Now, okay, this trial is going to be going on for months. They say, how long will you be there?
Well, I won't be here for a month. The truth is, I can't afford it. The truth is, I took money out my own household to fly here, to rent a car, hotel room. I didn't ask for no donation, no cash app. I took money out of my household because it was that important for me to be here. So I will be returning back to LA later in the week, and hopefully I can come back at least for when the verdict is announced. But it was a sacrifice well worth it because at the end of the day, I'm a civil rights activist and I need to be here to support the Floyd family and my fellow activists. Because one thing we talked about yesterday between ourselves, the critics of Ben Crump, the critics of Reverend Al Sharpton, the critics of Tamika Mallory, the critics of Najee Ali, we didn't see them yesterday in Minneapolis in the streets with the Floyd family fighting for them. We didn't see our critics. We just saw ourselves as we always see ourselves just sacrificing for the people and trying to fight for social justice.
Well, you know what? You're doing the right thing, my brother. Good work. Good work. You're always on the case. And I think I appreciate you. And I know the community appreciates you as well. Thank you for joining us, man. This is a special edition breaking news on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Like we said, we just felt like it was important to touch bases with you, brother, as you are out there in Minneapolis, standing alongside the family. Thank you for doing that, and send love and light to the people of Minneapolis for us.
No, I sure will. And in my closing, the Floyd family, I've met them all. They're a beautiful family, a beautiful family. And when I told them, when I met them Sunday at the church rally with Reverend Sharpton and Ben Crump, they could not believe that someone from California came to support their family. So they just are really appreciative that LA was represented. And hopefully, when this is over with, we can get them out to LA for a special event, special tribute. And you're going to be on that host committee, Greg J. So I'm letting you know in advance, brother. So thanks again for letting me give an update to LA on what's happening right here currently in Minneapolis.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Blessings
All
to
right,
you.
peace.
Wow, that was the pivotal point in that 2020. 2020 was a heck of a year, right? Pivotal point. Uh, got a lot of people thinking, all shook all systems to the core. People, you know, throwing money you know, towards blackness. I guess you can say, it's really interesting. But it caused us as a people to really pivot and look inward and see, okay, what are we doing in this country? What do we need to do to build ourselves? And I feel like education is at the foundation of our remix, right? I mean, education has always been at the top of mind for us in the struggle. I know that when I was coming up, child of the civil rights movement, my parents and the people at church, people in the community, the the community activists were always talking about education, 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 right? It's an important thing. So today's show, we want to turn our attention to the road to education. What does that mean? Kids nowadays, man, they're out there. I know I got my two grandsons are seniors in high school right now, and they're virtual learning and all of this, and I often think, what how does this affect, their ability to move on to the higher level, get the proper grades that they need, they don't have the same activities that you or I had when we were seniors in high school, but certainly my attention is turned to the road to higher education. And you're out there on social media, and I see my folks are doing big things in every category. Oh my goodness! And I've been paying attention to our guest today. Over the years, I was at some of the first Black College Expos, and somebody would say, "Whoa, what's a Black College Expo?" I mean, she was having you know conventions, if you will, for the young folks at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Kids are coming down there by the thousands. Black colleges are coming, signing them up right then and there. I mean, this is some really great work. And now, fast forward to 2021, she's a PhD. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Theresa Price. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning, my friend. Good morning. I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud
Just
of
looking
you.
at you doing, you know, I'm just sitting here listening to Najee Ali and just looking at just 2020
Mm,
before that, but 2020 I feel like was stamped like the year that everything was to be spotlighted, everything.
mhm.
And at the same time, it was a time for everybody to slow down. It was almost like I'm gonna make sure that the world slows down. God's like, okay, stop. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how much power you have. Look, you are not in control. Stop. So it made everybody look and listen at what's going on. And I just had to silence. I mean, a moment of silence, really, when you think about what he's down there in Minneapolis for, He's not there for a rally, not there for a football game or a NCAA March Madness, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because a life was lost for no reason.
for no reason. Hmm.
A black life. And as you think about it, you look at for years, man, for years. And the only thing I know to fight back with is education, because I feel like when I had to look at it and say, how can you help? You think, how can you help? And you say, if you could just build minds, or if you could just empower people, let me take that back. If you can empower people to feed their brain so that they don't fall for the okie doke, and they know about strategy and monopolizing and coming together and unification, to understand what that means. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, in our inner cities, think about our health, our wealth, all of that is affected because you don't understand that they're bringing stuff in your community that shouldn't be in there. You don't understand the effects of what it's going to do to you now and in the long run. But as you get educated and you feed your brain and you find out how things work, that's when wait a minute, this world's not designed for us to win. Okay, we're supposed to have less money, but we're paying higher taxes and higher insurance and higher and higher.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's why I feel like education is so important. It's not even forget the degrees. It's really about feeding your brain.
Yes, yes, yes. The most lethal weapon we can have is, our education. It's really something. And now that episode of George Floyd in Minneapolis, right, was the ignition point for a whole new thing. And as you mentioned, now, we're in the quarantine. So we have this period of intense self reflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think not only on each individual, but even as we look at our community, because we have been knowing for years and for generations that this place wasn't built for us.
Right,
We're liable to
right,
be killed out here in any
right.
way, shape, form, or fashion. So how do we restructure our community inside of this place where we are, called the United States of America? And education is definitely at the foundation of that. I was going to wear my Black College Expo T-shirt, that I still have from back in the day. I didn't get it
Oh
today.
yes, that's all right. I'm gonna send you another. I'm gonna send you some more.
Yeah, all right, excellent.
So yeah, I'm gonna send you some more. So it's so surreal, as you say, and it's so I would have never, if you would have asked me why I was in radio, that I was gonna be, I mean, just when I was a kid, that I would be doing this. It's just something how God just shapes you when you go back and you look at your life and you see how you really shaped for where you're supposed to be and why you're here. I think that is the that's the thing that I feel like is, oh, look at my friend. I love Carl Bolton. Love you. Love you. If it wasn't for people like him, I wouldn't be here, just the support. But it's, it's just, I would have never known, but it's like, we really are shaped for what we are. Some of us fight it because we don't know, but it's really, we all have a purpose to be here. And I clearly know that I'm here to be a vessel for young people. And,
that's a beautiful thing. You mentioned Carl Bolton. That's my big brother, right? That's
yeah. Well, we stealing them because it's mine too. No.
Good.
We still love you. That's our big brother together. He's a great.
Yes, I love him and Lula. Those are my folks. Like,
yeah. What's so something when you first meet him, regardless of how high ranked in power and wherever he was, you felt this wholeness. He has a real sense of his great spirit within him, Yeah. And that's what I think is so, that's just so like awesome, is that you feel just connected. I don't know. He just, that's the thing about him. Yeah.
Okay.
And his wife.
Tell the people a little bit about your background. I mean, we come from the same industry here, and
yes,
I brag on that a little bit.
Yes.
There's life after that there.
Oh yeah, it has to be. And so many people are doing so many amazing and remarkable things. But back in the day, it's so funny. Bill Shear was my mentor, and I met a lot of people really because he come on in here. First it was Randall, because my maiden name is Randall, Theresa Randall. Randall, get on in here. That's how long he's been knowing me. He'll tell people, I got you out of the gutter. But I was born in Compton. I'm a Compton, California native. Born family of 9, youngest of 9. I was a oops baby. Was not supposed to. It was like, oops. How did I? And here I am, and 9 years behind my brother that's next to me, but just always, I don't know, always ask why. Always, why can't I? Why? I was always one of those kids. But just as I look at my life, I was thinking. I said, I've been chased by the police. In 7th, 8th grade, I remember that in middle school when they just came up to our school at Vanguard and started just beating up kids. We were 7th and 8th grade and chasing us because somebody would fight. So that's like police brutality then. I remember running, and then I remember people getting killed in front of me. I mean, like right in front of me. And so I saw a lot. I remember gang violence first, the beginning of the drive-by, all of that. I remember all of that, and I don't know, for some reason, I went to my undergrads at Long Beach State. And as you start to learn and you start to listen and listen, 2 of my professors, when I got to Long Beach State, I was blessed to have Amin Ra and Maulana Karenga as my professors. So that's all I got to say. When you enter that classroom and you listen to what they say, and give you facts about what was said. I remember walking out my first night, because a night class, and I was just stunned because I did not know. And it was actually a class on Black Christianity. And I will never forget the facts and everything to show how God was Black. And it's just like, wow. And, and his story, not our story. I mean, just so many things. And that all came because, in high school and elementary, you have all the, those history, the books and, Columbus, all that. And it's just like, as you get in, that's what, so college kind of becomes this independent learning kind of sense. And you have a little bit more freedom of what you learn and how you learn, and you get to choose. And then while I was in there, I knew it was so funny, is I wanted to be an actress at first. If you knew that. So I was driving while I was in college. My first year, because my parents, I would tell them and they didn't believe me, and they were much older than me. And so remember, my mother's in her 40s, 50, well, 60s now, because she had me on. But when I was driving, I had the same manager as Valerie Bertinelli. I don't remember, one day at a time. And I was driving to Tammy Lynn's office, and I would go up there, and her husband was a newscaster for Channel 2, a Kim Mariner. So he asked, would you like to be, because he knew I was in school for broadcast journalism, because at first it was radio, TV. So I became his news assistant, and I was going there for, being in acting and taking classes. And it's so funny because Andrea Nelson Miggs, you know who Andrea Nelson Miggs, who's my little niece cousin, she is now a partner at UTA, but she was at ICM. She's responsible for Beyonce first getting into the whole film thing. But her and I had the same age. She's the one that told me about the agent. So it just tells you as you look at where people are. And I was going there every Wednesday for this class. And then I just knew then that I didn't want to wait tables and wait for this acting thing. I wanted to get my degree. So I ended up, saying, okay, what can I major in at Long Beach State that's close to acting? And so I did radio, TV, and then I switched because a friend of mine, Diabetes, Daryl Grayson, the Ron Settles thing and all that was going on too. So I ended up going to broadcast journalism, and Daryl Grayson, I'm pretty sure you know.
Yes, I know.
But started second in command for BET with Bob Johnson. So anyway, I majored in that, and then I started working and doing internships. And I went and interviewed Ralph Sutton. So just to tell you, remember I did Channel 2. Yeah. I was a news person there, and I was going in the news doing that. And then I was so doing that, going up there every day, working out of the house, doing that. And then I go and I interview Ralph Sutton, who was the news director at the time at KACE. Mm-hmm. He's like, and I just sitting there interviewing him. I'm like, can I do an internship here? And he's like, oh, okay. And that's why I tell kids internship. Mm-hmm. So I started doing an internship, and then I started doing, and that's the word. I'm Theresa Price on KACE, where it's all in the mix. Mm-hmm. So I started doing news, started doing drops. And then Willie Davis, who was the owner, Hall of Famer Willie Davis is the owner, and Ann Davis. And so they came to me. Bill Shearer was the general manager, and he's like, we're doing this promotions program. Would you like to be our promotions coordinator or whatever? So that's just being in the mix, because I was just working for free. Said, okay. And I started doing that and did the extra, went to work early, stayed extra, volunteered to do this, all that. So when I graduated, he actually offered me a full-time job. So that's how I internship, though. Just look at God just lines you up. And so I did that and ended up getting the job and being a community. Listen to my title. I was Community Assistance Line Coordinator. Wow. Think about what I'm doing now. I'm just saying. So I was doing, and what I was charged with was to put together all these resources to help people find their way. So whether they couldn't pay the utility bills, or they needed a place to stay, or needed resources for education, whatever it was, I had to build this Rolodex out of all these resources. And I worked right there. They had an office in the City Hall building in Inglewood, right next to KJLH. And I worked in that building in there. And that's where I did that for a year. And then I started looking around at the account executives, and I'm like, man, they look like they're making money over there. Right. I started asking them questions like, what do you do? The account executives, and they said, well, we sell radio time. We put commercial. We're the ones that put the commercials on the air. So I'm like, Bill, I want to do that. I want to do it. Mm-hmm. So I worked hard. It was tough, though. I had to go round and round with Bill. And finally, he believed and let me come in and be in sales. And I ended up being the #1 salesperson. And then I got promoted to retail sales manager, then national sales manager. And then Howard Neal, was the Black general manager and general market radio. And then I was able they came after me for a job over there at KFI KC. They had bought KC at the time. And I went over there, and then the rest is history. Started doing that, and I started doing all the entertainment stuff. And as I think about it, Ricky Walker, the owner of the Universal Circus, was my client, actually was at KGFJ, and he was doing A Good Man Is Hard to Find. And then he told me he was getting ready to start, when I went over to KAC, he said, I'm getting ready to start researching for this Black circus. I'm going to start the Black circus. I'm like, you're going to start a Black circus? So he went and did his research, traveled all over the world. And then here comes the Universal Circus. Oh, circus. And so he asked me, yeah. And he said to me, and at that point, I was getting kind of burnt. I was going through some things in the radio thing, a little depressed, going through that. Mm-hmm. And, he's like, Price, why don't you come over here and be general manager for the circus? I never forget that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I think I want to start my own marketing firm. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, I'll be your first client. And he gave me $25,000 to start my own marketing firm. to start our marketing firm. So we started a marketing firm, and then I'm in that for about like right at the beginning, because I started in 97. Then right after that, it was just like we're in the office talking, and Pam Sales, I don't know if you know Pamela Sales, ties now. I think her grandfather or somebody was like president or executive or something at one of the Black colleges, and we were talking about that. And I was like, wow, we all said it'd be great to do a Black College Expo. Wouldn't it be great? And so we tried to do the first one in 98 and didn't raise enough money, and then came back in 99 and planned. And we did our first one February 26, 2000. And we had over 35,000 people wrapped around the corner at the LA Convention Center, and they sent out the riot gear police.
I was there.
Yes. And I knew right then, I said, wow, people want information. Yeah. That was crazy to see the riot gear police. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
But that told me then that people wanted information. And that's when I just said, you know what, one day's not enough. So I started going into schools, talking to kids about education. And then I was in East LA at a East LA, pretty much Hispanic, Hispanic school system, pretty much. And so in this particular class, it was all Hispanic students, and I'm in there, hey, I'm Theresa Price. I'm here to talk to you about the Black College Expo. And they're looking at me like, I said, the Black colleges want you too. And then I started giving them the history of Black colleges, how it was before teachers and preachers and da-da-da. And by this time too, I had done all my research, because that's one thing, education, again, in college, it teaches you how to research, teaches you my journalistic background, how to research, teaches you how to keep going, how to just gives you so many things, how to interview, all that kind of stuff. So I started doing that, going in, what's it saying? So I started going in, doing that. And then I just said, wow. I started asking the kids, I'm like, okay, how many of you guys have taken the SAT 3 times? Nobody raised their hand. And then I'm like, okay, they've taken it 2 times. They're seniors. Remember, I didn't tell you, I'm in a room with all seniors. It's October of their senior year. And I'm like, okay, how many of you guys have taken the test 2 times, the SAT? Nobody raised their hand. And then I'm like, okay, how many guys have taken it 1 time? Nobody raises their hand. And I'm sitting there like, what the heck? These kids are not, I don't understand. So then right after that, I just started preaching to them, like telling them why they need to take, the SAT and actually the ACT, why both tests were important and what they should be doing right now, why higher education was so important and why they need to go to college, and just talking about that. And at the end of that, they stood in line to talk to me. And that was like, I was shocked. I mean, they stood in this long line, and then I started hearing stuff like, my counselor said I can't go to college. I have a 3.0. Can I go to college? All these things to discourage our kids that they couldn't go. And so I said to myself, now, if that's happening to our kids here, like at this school, this is probably happening in all inner city schools. And I said to myself, okay, what can I do about it? At that point, I'm like, okay, instead of saying, oh, the counselor is this, or, trying to blame everybody else, it wasn't about that. It's not about that for me. It's like, I put the finger back into myself and I say, what can I do about it? What can I do about this? And I just vowed that day to make sure that wherever I went, whatever I was doing, I would always empower students and people that they could do and be anything. And I would always give them resources and information on how they can do it. And that's kind of where, so anytime I did a radio interview, television interview, whatever, I always wanted to do that. And I vowed to make sure that I continued out there empowering students that they could do and be anything. And with that came, give them my number. So I gave my number to every student. Every student that I meet, pretty much, I never want them to feel like they can't make it. So that's pretty much why. And then from there, we go into, then people started saying, can you bring it to this market? Can you bring, first market was DC, Maryland. They were doing the Prince George's Classic, and they were like, well, can you bring the Black College Expo here? So at the time we were planning to do also Oakland. So it was Oakland 4 years later, 2004, it's Oakland, and then DC, Maryland, and then also LA. And then After that, we started getting more markets. So then we added Atlanta and Houston and New York and Chicago. And it just kept going on and on. And now we're actually in 12 markets. In addition to those markets, we are in Miami, New York, Houston, Dallas, Seattle, Sacramento, San Diego, LA,
That's pretty
Chicago, Detroit.
phenomenal.
Now,
That's pretty phenomenal, Teresa. Now let me ask you this. Now the I mean, what struck me in the early days when I came through the Black College Expo was the participation from the Black colleges. They actually sent people to participate and be face to face with the young people in this new paradigm where, because of the George Floyd situation and the civil unrest that happened, all of these organizations, these HBCUs are getting so much money now. And I
right.
guess a lot of it goes to infrastructure because a lot of them were, financially suffering. But at the same time, do you see a stronger outreach or an improvement of outreach with your dealings with the HBCUs?
Yeah, early on, I have to give thanks to radio and being really, when you're working at an AM station in the FM world, working at KGFJ, 12:30 AM, and everything was FM and everything. You're taught, and then being from Compton and then going, all of that combination, going to college gave me grit. So right away, what I saw right away was the benefit, just as you see the benefit in a client, what they had. So I saw the benefits that the colleges, we were able to work with them for them to do the accepting students on the spot, waiving application fees and giving away scholarships on the spot. So as I saw that, I really started to market that early on. For 22 years, I've been preaching HBCUs because that was right at the time when Prop 209 had just not too long ago did the ban affirmative action. So it was a perfect opportunity to highlight HBCUs. And I'm gonna be honest, as I learned more and more about HBCUs and the history and legacy and the number of advanced degrees and just all the empowering things. And then I thought about our community and I thought about the things, why did I see a liquor store, a funeral home, and a church like on every court? Like, why was those combinations? The church was to save us, but all the other things brought in the community. But as I looked at the land of in an inner city, growing up in the inner city, and then looked at the benefits of the Black colleges in terms of being welcoming and also being private and not public too, but being able to work with students where they were. It wasn't so much about what they were about. It was about wherever you are, we know you got greatness in you. So we're going to bring out that greatness with our Southern hospitality of the way that we work with our students. And that's a pretty much a way, in music business, you say where so-and-so meets so-and-so when you're describing an artist. That's really, as I described, the HBCU experience. I think I know that it teaches you, first of all, why you're important being Black. Why? The things that you've done as a Black person, then you're walking on the grounds of your ancestry. So the things that they've done to make America what it is, being a part of that. I think all of those things you're taught, first of all, you matter. You're taught about the contributions you've made to this world. You're taught, you're being fed in your brain, and you're being empowered that, you know what, you can do better than that. Why are you getting this seat? When your professors come over and call you, one of our board members, actually our director of education, Dr. Fierce Hackett, she was just saying when she was at Alabama A&M, how she in high school, she got straight D's and C's. She celebrated when she got C's. When she went there, she was going to class or whatever. One day she didn't go to class and her professor called her and said, "Miss Fears, you weren't in my class." She said she thought the cause, and then somebody came to her door. It was her professor. She thought it was the guy she met at the club last night, she said. It was the professor coming to say, "Why weren't you in my class? Why aren't you here?" And I think that makes you feel like you matter. And then when you don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, but the president calls and say, "Hey, come have Thanksgiving dinner with us." Though that would never happen at a PWI, a predominantly, that would never happen. So I think that's why I say Southern hospitality. at the same time being build up, sharing your history and legacy and your culture of what makes you great to be Black. What is Black excellence? Hearing that every day, not just 28 days of the year, every day. That empowers anybody. Even if you weren't Black and you're going to appreciate Blackness, and then, you're being empowered. So I think that's why early on, as you say, what's going on? When you think about the 94 four-year institutions and the 11 two-year, and this just recent facts of my recent research that I did. So you got 105 institutions. But when you talk about the money and where it's going, it's not going to all 105, not the way it should. And I think especially the 94 four-year, it's not going the way that it should. It goes to the top tier of the ones you hear about all the time. And I'm just on a mission to change that too. That's why we do an HBCU combine, football combine, HBCU basketball combine, because I know that there's still inequity in education and higher education. In sports, there's inequities. Even amongst the HBCUs, there's inequities, because the ones you hear about are the ones that get the most money, because it's just like anything else. You have a company, everybody hears the money when they think, oh, I need to do a Black college. Okay, Howard, Spelman, Morehouse, maybe Clark, Hampton. Those are the ones you hear. But what about the Talladegas? What about the Tougaloo's? Tougaloo College, Talladega College, Philander Smith College, Claflin University, which is like a baby Ivy. What about Fort Valley State? What about Benedict College? What about I can go on. Langston University. Oh man, I can go on and on and on. What about Bennett College for Women? You hear about Spelman? What about Bennett College for Women? So it's like,
and they had an incredible turnaround not too long ago too, right?
Yeah. What about Johnson C. Smith? I could go.
What's that one? Lincoln University.
Yeah, Lincoln MO, Lincoln PA. It's so many. So that's why I say, Morris College. A lot of people don't know about that. It's so
Shaw
many.
University.
Shaw University. Yeah. We could go. I told you it's 94 four-year schools. Alabama A&M, Alabama State.
Prairie View A&M.
B's and keep going. Yeah. B's and C's. So that's what I'm saying. So my mission now, my mission then was to change the myths about HBCUs and also introduce them as a whole, the importance. And when we started in 2000, when we started, there was less than 3% of the population from California alone that were going to HBCUs. Now the number is like in the 20%. So the number is way high. And some of the presidents that, I have relationships with all of them. And they were like, Theresa, as a part of us working with you, we've increased our enrollment 43%. Wow. So the enrollment just in working with us in California, the enrollment's gone up for California students. Schools like Harris-Stowe State University in St. Louis, Missouri. It's like, that was a school we were able to increase the enrollment to 43% from just us working together and whatever they were doing. So Dr. Warmack was the president at the time. Now he's the president at Claflin University. So we got a brother from South Central. That's the president at Fort Valley State, Dr. Paul Jones. So it's like, so I'm now a student, and then my doctorate is from Virginia University of Lynchburg. So it's like Dr. Kathy Franklin. She's an awesome president over there. And you hear about Liberty University, which is literally right down the street. You hear about Liberty and all the stuff going there. But Virginia University of Lynchburg is right there, right down the street, doing some crazy, amazing things too. So it's not, now just understand, being National College Resources Foundation, and we have 5 programs, and Black College Expo is one of those programs, and it's a trademark because I trademarked it about 20 years ago. I believe in higher education. So let me just go on record saying, I believe in higher education, period. As a kid, period. I believe in higher education. So we have relationships with all 23 Cal States, all 9 UCs, all, there's 98 private independent colleges like University of La Verne. We have a partnership with them, Loyola Marymount, Chapman University. So I believe in general in higher education because, again, it's about feeding your brain.
Yes.
When you talk about Black College Expo or the whole thing is to highlight with Black College Expo, we highlight HBCUs because I remember people not even understand what is HBCU, what does that mean? What is that? So every time I say that, as I said, I always educate. So I always say HBCUs, I'll say historically Black colleges and universities, because people, even though you don't know, it's just like STEAM and STEM. People don't know what STEAM stands for, what STEM stands for, right? So you always have to tell people, we assume people know, but they don't know that it's science, science, engineering, they don't know that, So I'm sorry, STEM is science, technology, engineering, arts, agriculture, aviation, aerospace, and math. For us, we have a STEAM program. Our A is to the fourth power, and that's the arts, agriculture, aviation, and aerospace. And the reason being is because there's not enough diversity in those fields, in STEAM as a whole. Matter of fact, there's over 5 million jobs in STEAM that are unfilled right now because there's not enough people. We're not producing enough. Our education is not producing enough people to go into those fields. And then when it comes to minorities, we're so way behind. And when it comes to Blacks, oh my goodness, it's always bigger. So 80% of white males are in technology. 86%, just look at that as they're telling us who and what and how. White male. That's not diversity. So my goal is to bring diversity and inclusion and equity into everything, into all those fields. That's why, as a nonprofit, everybody knows Black College Expo, but as National College Resources Foundation, our mission is to curtail high school dropout rate and increase enrollment to degree and/or certificate programs among underserved, underrepresented, at-risk, low-resource, homeless, and foster students, with a vision to close the gap on educational achievement, workforce, and economic disparities. The goal, which is going to take a long time, to end racism and racial inequalities. That's what National College Resources is. Black College Expo is one of the programs that we have. We do a Latino College Expo. We do a STEAM Expo too. So we have a STEAM program. We have a student athlete program. We have a movement enrichment program in which we service schools. We go into schools and we confront the disparities in the education system by providing intervention, mentoring, tutoring, college and career planning, internships and careers, and student athlete assistance. So full service program. And I always tell people, whether you want to be an astrologist or a zoologist, we just try to make sure that students don't have an excuse or don't have the support to do anything and everything they want to do. We're a student first organization.
So let's dissect the STEAM real quick and focus in on the arts, just because that is a discipline that's near and dear to my heart. I'm on the board of the Arts Council for Long Beach.
Oh, excellent.
Just really moving forward with advocating for the arts. What disciplines should young students pursue in these careers that are so underserved, so lacking of us in the arts category? What should they be studying now to get into the arts?
Oh man, think about it. In arts, you have so many things, and it's actually not an elective, but it's a one of the main things. It's a A through G requirement. Art is one of the ones mentioned. So you got to take it first of all in high school, which is good. But you also look at all the art, like you said, music, graphic design. There's so many things, product design, just the iPhone that had to do with, the iPhone or the Android. I'm saying whatever you have, that art was all involved in all of that. The art is involved in mechanical engineering, in any phase of engineering. There's always design involved with everything. Product design, you have so many things. There's so many, everything to me wraps around the art. If you think of everything, even our clothing, everything. Wow. What makeup look like, how it looks, your glasses, those awesome glasses you have on, how they could
store glasses.
yeah. So I'm just saying, so in school, make sure you're taking art. And if you love that, Feed it. Parents, if your kids love art, feed that. Put them in programs over the summer. Put them in college programs that might have an art program at a college or a community college or at the local park or in the parks and recs. Feed that because there's, art is needed. Some people think, oh, you're going into art, you can't do anything. What can they do? I have a nephew right now that is freaking kicking butt. He's an artist. He majored in art. He actually ended up going to Platt College for his master's in New York. He is now, his paintings now are like freaking $4,000 and $7,000. But it all started because he never stopped from what he loved. He kept going. So that's why I say all of us are born with a special gift. And as they say, people look at people when you say, I want to go, I want to be an artist. I want to do art. Even if you say, I want to be an artist in terms of singing, or I want to go into sports, people always want to frown. But I always say, somebody got to play the basketball. Somebody got to dribble the ball. Somebody got to throw the ball. Somebody got to hit the ball. Somebody got to run the ball. Somebody got to sing to us. Somebody got to dance to us. Somebody got to draw for. You know what I mean? You got those are careers. So we should encourage and not encourage. We should empower people to continue to do that, especially if you see that they're talented in it. There's all of the pretty much most colleges, most of them offer some kind of art. You have the specialty colleges like SCAD or the art of design. You have those, but most of the schools have some form of art within their degree programs. So it's so many. Greg, there's over 7,000 colleges in just the U.S. and there's over 18,000 colleges worldwide. Look at all those choices. I say, look, 18 and 7, that's 25,000 colleges. There's over 18,000. I'm sorry, there's 18,000 colleges. So when you say there's 18 and you just say if every college had 1,000 people, look at all those options. Wow. When you got Arizona State with 100,000 students. Arizona State has 100,000 students.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
Let me ask you this. So in this pandemic environment, are the students able to take the SAT and the ACT and all of those tests that are needed?
Not here, not in California. Now I had a family that drove up to Arizona to take the test. That just happened. So see, here's where it is. They are waiving the tests. They're making where you don't have to take test optional. However, when it comes to scholarships, that test matters. So people understand that. Yes, they're waiving the test, but if you don't have the test, it's like I was just talking with Alabama State University. They're basing their scholarships on the test. So it's like, yes, I can get you in, but I need to have that test score so that I can get you the scholarship. So some families are driving to Arizona, wherever it's, the next, maybe Nevada, wherever they're open, so they can take the test. Right now, in the fall, those tests may come back. I know we have a partnership with the College Board who actually does the SAT test. So I know they have been doing they're even moving things around and working more with Black colleges now. They're even like looking at, because of the thing becoming test optional, $55 times what? Equals no economics, right? Yeah, so they're looking at other ways because a lot of the Ivy League schools were looking at removing the test anyway. Because a lot of presidents, in my conversation with a lot of the presidents at the colleges, they feel that the test doesn't define the student. And they've had students that come in there that have done really well in the test that still don't do well in college. And they've had kids that didn't do well in the test that do extremely well in college. So they really feel that the test doesn't define a student in terms of their success in college. And you're finding that a lot of the Ivy Leagues and a lot of the, now Cal State, the UCs, I think so they might be moving away from that test. And then if you think about it, a lot of people, they might have 4.0s, but they don't test well because people freak out, get nervous when it's time to take tests and, this whole test thing. And then when you think about the test, I remember in this working with the College Board, a lot of more people were taking the ACT over the SAT. Matter of fact, about 5 years ago, 1.5 more million people were taking the ACT over the SAT. Because Black colleges really promote ACT. And I think it's because the ACT is more applied learning, what you were learning as you go, where the SAT was all this, they were, all these questions, words we probably didn't even hear in the hood and all that stuff. So they had tried to change that. And all the ACT, you can answer every question and you didn't get marked wrong for your wrong answers. They changed it. It used to be the SAT was just the opposite, where you got points deducted when you answered wrong. The ACT didn't do that. Now the SAT actually became what the ACT is. We don't get marked now for the ones you get wrong. You only get credit for what you mark right, but you don't get it wrong. Like it doesn't ding you if you answered it wrong.
Yeah, I see Charlie Trujillo on here talking about it prevents people from getting funding. Higher scores often come from more privileged upbringing. And earlier he made a comment saying he felt like the SAT should be removed. And what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Because, again, I feel like the tests, when you think of how they're designed and when you think about the community and the way we learn, just a lot of things, I don't think that should prevent someone from getting funding for go to school. I think a lot of things should be changed. Don't get me going on. I feel like our K through 12 system, I feel like it was fine it's just a different type of student right now. They're not the same student, but the learning is the same. And I feel like it needs to be to a more innovative, like restorative practices type learning. You work and you encourage, it's just that whole thing. That's why I love college, because college allows you to be more free and allows you to be more independent, and you take what you want to take. So I agree, Charlie, you're probably right, because, it's like it's defining, and it does keep a lot of people out from getting the additional funding that they need. What I find with most of our kids, underserved students or low resource, the gap for college in terms of funding is usually between $4,000 and $8,000. That means if you're going wherever they're going, they're usually short between $4,000 and $8,000, even if they get whatever funding they're going to get. So we've been trying. Our mission is another mission to try to see how do we help close that gap. So we raise money. Our nonprofit, as a nonprofit, we raise money. Our money focus for all of our scholarships have been for the scholarships for students going into school, but also I want to keep students in so they can graduate. So we have a strong focus on the retention, keeping retention and persistence, making sure people stay in school, and then getting them to finish in school. Because that's the bigger problem. You can get kids in school all day, every day. You get them in, but we got to get them through. And that's why when you're talking about the funding for the colleges, the CARES Act money that they have, they've been actually helping some low resource students, because I'm working with Benedict College right now with 3 homeless students that we're working on. And it's just to get them in the school and get them graduated. And so we've been, Comerica Bank actually gave us some COVID funding. And our whole focus with that was to focus on the college students. I took those dollars, and and focusing on the college students. So instead of me just saying, oh, give this, give that, we and the presidents, we kind of got together, especially with the schools that I said, that I feel like they need help. And then I looked at certain areas. I wanted to be on purpose with the funding to make sure that they went where it really needed to go. So I was able to reach out to the kids, work with the financial aid department, look at the kids that weren't going to be able to come back because they couldn't either afford it or COVID or whatever. And we just supported those students to try to make sure that they can stay in school. And we want them to graduate. Think about it, Greg. Graduation, a degree, being able to be in the game. Forget about everybody's like, degree is still hard to find a job. You're in a different level looking for a job. It's almost like everybody played sports in elementary school, right? Then when you got to middle school, you had to try out for the team. So a lot of people didn't play that was playing in elementary. Then you get to high school and it's even less. Then you get to college and you left. Same. We want to make sure that the students can finish, that they can, because if they can finish, it changes the trajectory of a family. Mm-hmm. Now that student is employable or entrepreneurial, and they're able to change the trajectory of being on a county or being, financial assistant. They can be in the game. They can enter the game to go out there and swing as hard as they can, and hopefully get a home run,
So question, what about older students? So single moms might have got
Mhm.
knocked off of their academic track because you had the youngin at a young age, or people because of certain circumstances didn't roll right into the university. Does your organization help folks like that?
Oh yeah, man. Education, education. I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you old, young, whatever. We're
Okay,
here
so look,
to
I'm
serve.
trying to
So,
go to Howard University.
uh-huh.
That is
Well,
my life dream.
really?
I want to go to
Have
Howard.
you applied? Have you applied?
I'm going to, because you know what? Now that I'm older now,
Yeah,
I'm saying
apply.
that's my bucket list. I'm gonna go to
Oh,
Howard University. I say
yeah,
that all the time. I'm gonna go to Howard.
okay. Do it today because right now, so it's a different. First of all, the admission period is right now for grad school because you wherever you are, this it's a
Yes.
different period. So you would right now, right now is where grad school. We actually were doing a grad school symposium. We did it last year to try to help people get into grad school, med school, law school. But let me know when you apply because we work with Tammy McKentz, the admissions director there, and I have spoken to the president who's been very responsive because we had a kid we were trying to help with some money. And so, the president, Dr. Frederick, we worked together on trying to help the kid. He ended up going, which is really good. But
So
yeah,
do
know,
I have to take
huh?
the VMAT and all that?
What'd you say?
Do I have
No,
to take no?
you mean the MCAT? I mean the
Yes.
um.
Yes.
You know what? Let's see. Let's see. Because I don't want to say anything I'm wrong, but let's see. Why don't you apply? I'm actually working with a student right now, one of Oprah's students that went to the Oprah Leadership Academy out of South Africa. And
Mhm.
her goal is to go to a black college. She wants to get her master's and work at the United Nations. So actually I'm reaching out for her anyway right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would love to let's just reach out and see what we got. See what we can
That's
do.
right. All
It's
right.
about now. Grad school is probably a little cheaper because undergrad is about 43,000. That's what everything. Um, but what for grad school it could be cheaper. It might be 15,000 a year or something like that. 15.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, let's go for it.
Okay,
Let's make
let's
it
go
happen.
for it. I love
I'll
that.
get
I'm
your
smiling.
application.
That's good. Good stuff. Good, good, good. All
Yes, and
right.
Joan Scott is letting you know that many HBCUs have housing for students with children.
Mhm.
Joan, she's
Mhm.
right. She's
That's
right.
right. That's right. Here's someone
Mhm.
here also too looking for a full 4-year scholarship in arts, music, theater.
Oh,
Their kid is
excellent.
a straight A student. That's AD
Okay,
Sakari. Yes,
excellent.
yes,
Are
yes.
what are they interested in all schools? AD. Are they
Yes.
interested in everything? Let me tell you why. Have they been accepted anywhere and are they a senior right now? Because I need to know all that. So I don't know if they're a senior. So whenever you need for me, the easiest thing for me to help you is email me, and then that way I can send it out to all my schools. Single parent household, Harvard is very interested. Okay, so have you been doing interviews with Harvard? I have a Harvard contact for you. Um,
What's your?
and
Go
what
ahead and
grade
drop
is
your
she?
email right now, and I'll put it in the chat.
Yes. So yeah, so the easiest thing for me is to send me, the student's name, what they want to major in, what
Mhm.
grade they're in, and then the transcript too. Send me a copy of the transcript because what that does is that allows me to see the possibility. I
Mhm.
always look now, usually with the Cal State UCs or any of the other PWI school. Oh, she's a junior in high school. Okay, great. We'll make sure she applies for our scholarship. We give away scholarships to juniors and seniors every year at our expos. So make sure she applies. And we have more.
What's your email, Dr. Theresa
You want
Price?
me to put it in the chat
All
so
right,
you
go
can
ahead.
copy and paste?
Mhm.
Here, I'll put it in the chat so you can copy and paste it. There we go.
Okay, okay, I got you.
Yeah, so it's Theresa at thecollegeexpo.org. Theresa with an H at thecollegeexpo.org. And it's just that's the best thing. So it's the grade, the major they want to go into, and if they don't know their major. So also too, let me share something with you. A lot of times, and this is just for all schools, your student may have applied for a school and they didn't get into that school. You got to think about the major. If the major, when you're looking at these schools, make sure you call the school in advance and find out what majors are impacted. Because
Mhm.
I just had a student that had a 4.0 or whatever, and they didn't get in to a school that they probably could have gotten into, but their major is sociology. And sociology, I don't know if it's because of all the crime shows or whatever. Sociology is a hot major. It has always been one of the hottest majors. That's great. She's taking college courses at LA College. That's awesome. You know, by the time she gets to go, have her pursue her associate's degree. That's the other thing. Dual enrollment, parents, please. While your students are in school, have them dual enroll at the college that your high school has probably articulation with the local college, community college. Because when they graduate, I have kids right now graduating with their associate's degree from high school. So they only need 2 years of college. And at 20, they got their bachelor's degree, wow, which can have their master's at 2021. Because some of the programs, masters are only 1 year. Some might be a year and a half. Some might be 2 years, depending on the major. So when you email me, if you could email me the grade that they're in or what level, even if you're returning back to school, you want to go back to school, that's fine. But you know, the regular, for the Cal States and the UCs, they moved the date back to a later date, but it's probably going to be back on track this year, November 30th, for undergrad. For the master's or advanced postgraduate degrees, the date is later. It's usually it's not the same date as the undergrad date.
All
so,
right.
Excellent. Charlie said their kid you guys are on it. Way to go, Charlie. And dual enrollment. That's excellent.
In Long Beach, they have what is it called? What does Dr. Felton call it? The Bridges program. And that's, you know.
Yeah, and what are they what are the major? What is Charlie, what's your kid majoring in? Or do you know? And they might not know because there's so many majors.
So many majors. You know, I'm a low-key sociologist myself.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, I really I've found a lot of my observations in that discipline. You know, that's a good thing. You know, okay, so how I heard you mention that you've helped some homeless children and all that. Now, people who are at risk, young people who are in these very strenuous life circumstances, how do you help them? How do you find them, and how can they intersect?
Well, how we help them, they usually reach out. They'll reach out, or maybe someone at the school may reach out, or they I think they're just starting. I had a young lady that just reached out she's like, she said, I'm calling you because I have a question. It was email. I'm emailing you because I have a question. They're telling me that I cannot go to a 4-year school. They're telling me I can only go to a 2-year. Is that true? And I responded, well, what's your GPA? You know, like, what's your GPA? Blah, blah, blah. Do you really want to go to college? Long story short, we got that young lady. And I found out she was homeless. And they lived in a motel with, it's like 6 people in a motel. And just think of it, 4 of them are virtual learners. So think about 1 room and 4 people in that 1 room, virtual learning. Just imagine. But I knew, and what's so crazy is, long story short, she reached out to me just maybe through the empowerment of me just telling people they can do it, be anything. And so we were able to work with her, and she's going to Benedict College actually she's going to go summer because I knew better for her to go as soon as she could. And we were able to get her some money. I called in advance and we worked out something for her to come. And so she's not going to have to worry. She's going to be able to go to school. We're going to support her. So we support them through sometime funding. We support them through, I have another homeless person that we have housing for. So we find, maybe a room for them. We do whatever. It's no cookie cutter. I can't even say we do this. You got to go. I don't want to be one of those organizations. You got to get this, to go to this. No, forget all that. We know we need the money. We know what's up. Our kids free or reduced lunches sometime at the 94%. We know that our kids need money. How can we help you? So it's really, when you say that, we just try to take one at a time or whatever and just try to help them. Our team, we have some college specialist people. When it's a special situation, it's usually me or Diana, maybe even Joan may help. But it's like, we just want them to know they're supported. And I reach out for a college where I feel like it can fit for them and they could also be supported. So it's no like, how do you help however I can help.
All right. All right. Dr. Theresa Price, it has been an absolute honor to have you on here. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Oh, man, make me smile.
Oh
And
man,
it's I'm
thank you.
really, really, really proud of you and what you do. And we put Teresa at the collegeexpo.org is in the chat, y'all. So reach out
Mhm.
to Dr. Price and get your information on what you need to get your young folks or get you, even through the
Yeah,
university, so we can be better equipped, more, uh, you know, just more powerful, because the
yeah,
mind is
that's
the lethal
exciting.
weapon in
Yeah,
this
that's
in this field.
exciting. And
Mhm.
elevating your, getting more degrees. And the fact that so 2 years we'll be going, HU, right to
Yeah,
you.
I love it. Absolutely, absolutely. Any parting shots you want to say to the people?
You know what? I just want to thank my team, man. First, I want to thank you. Let me thank you first because I'm here with you. I'm in your house. I'm having coffee with you. So
Yeah.
let me thank you for your heart, for you being a trailblazer to keep empowering us and sharing information and resources with us so that we can be empowered to make a difference and to continue to stride. So thank you for coffee conversations with Greg. It's a blessing. Thank you. God bless you. I want to thank our team, from Joan Scott. We all know Joan Scott,
Mhm.
former Motown record,
Motown.
all of that. She's our helping us with our PR and community engagement. So I want to thank her and thank the rest of our team just for all of them, just trailblazing, just for their heart. I thank our team for their heart because everybody that's with us, from our peer advisors to our site coordinators to our director of marketing and logistics and operations and all of that, from all of them, our STEAM program. Moses, shout out to you, from a family of 12 from Compton CPT. He's our STEAM manager, who is an engineer graduate from Long Beach State with an engineering degree. He leads our STEAM program. So I just thank all of them for their heart, because this job it's not a job. This amazing adventure,
Mm.
daily adventure, 7 days. Lord knows I love it. I thank God. I have to thank, man, let me moonwalk back on the Michael Jackson. Moonwalk. God, I thank you for showing me my purpose, for allowing me to live in my purpose, and for allowing me to serve. So I
Yeah.
thank God for allowing me to serve.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
A life of service. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Before we get out of here, I need to side back to this whole Black radio history that we have, right? So you dropped some names of some historical figures here. I always say that when we talk about American Black radio,
Mm-hmm.
historically, the story is always told from an East Coast perspective. We don't hear the names that you just dropped: Willie Davis,
Oh,
Ralph
yeah.
Sutton, Howard
Trailblazer.
Neal. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
It's just like,
Alonzo Miller. Man,
ah, see?
Alonzo Miller. That was
Wow.
my program director. Easy Wiggins.
Yes.
Marsha Robinson. I mean,
Yes.
people, what's so awesome too is Dolores Thompson.
I was just talking to
Now
Dolores.
Dr. Dolores Thompson
Dr.
is on our
Dolores
advisory.
Thompson.
She's on our advisory board, and she just watching her do amazing things. And
Mhm.
if it wasn't for radio, man, I don't know. It's like Cal Shields. Do you remember
Yes. Yeah, I had Cal Shields.
his
Yes.
daughter
Yes.
is my goddaughter. Rest his soul.
Wow.
But
Wow.
she just had a baby. It's just like, man, Blake. Remember Jim Blakely? Do you
Oh,
remember
Jim
him?
Blakely. Yeah. Ooh,
Oh,
wow.
rest his soul, man. It's just so many people that, wow, just
Mm, mm, mm.
so many people that you remember. Jay Rich,
Jay
Jay
Rich.
Rich,
Yes. Yes. Man.
wow.
It's
Earl
just,
Jordan. I mean,
you know,
I could go on and on and on and on.
yes. 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 Good stuff. Well, there it is, y'all. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Dr. Theresa Price. We're on the road to higher education. Reach out to her, Teresa at collegeexpo.org. You can get us
Yes.
here, Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. That's where you can view this. If you missed it, tell a friend. It's still going to be up there on Facebook on our page, but you can go to Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. Also, you can, now we just started this and I'm seeing the immediate growth. We started putting the audio of this just as a podcast, and you can get it wherever you get your favorite podcast. And I'm talking Apple, iHeart,
Congratulations.
Spreaker, Stitcher, you name it, it's there. Just type it with Coffee Conversations with Greg J. You'll get it. All right. All right. That's it for
Okay.
today. Oh, one last, we were talking about the arts, and I was sharing with you that I'm on the board of the Arts Council for Long Beach, and we've been blessed to produce a virtual event tonight, a state of the arts. We're going to put that out there at 6
Oh
p.m.
wow.
on
That's awesome.
Facebook. I'll just go to their page, Arts Council for Long Beach. Listen and learn all about what the arts has been doing in this beautiful city of Long Beach. Some fantastic performances from local artists. I really like the Cray Project. These are some sisters from North Long Beach who do a really cool dance presentation, and that's all going to be in the virtual event tonight. So
That
hopefully
is
you can
awesome.
check that out. All
You
right.
know what, Greg? Great,
Mm,
great. There is one thing I have to say because this is like you told me you have grandchildren, which
yeah.
you don't look too much older than them. So you started at 2,
How
right?
can I
Anyway,
say?
you started at 2. So you have grandchildren that are seniors. So we have partnered with the Urban League to do a national Black high school graduation that we've been doing the rites of passage for seniors for about 5 years. And the Urban League said, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Let's do it together. So we did it last year. It's televised. It's a national Black high school graduation, rites of passage. It's going to be nationally televised. It's June 4th. So please, it's free. We're working on the talent right now, some celebrities and all of that. But please, it's going to be here on Channel 5, but it will be a national presentation.
Yeah.
And I love your grandchildren to make sure they're a part because it's free. And we have students. If you have students from all over the nation that are seniors, they can participate. And we
Wow. Okay. Hey, doing
$100,000
good.
in scholarships. We're
Yeah.
going to do over
Doing good. That's
$100,000 in
great.
scholarships.
Wow. That's great.
So yeah, so make sure. So I'll get that information to you, but I wanted to announce it to all your listeners because it's an awesome opportunity to celebrate.
All right. All right, y'all. Woo. It's a lot, huh? Tuesday morning. This is how we do it. Coffee Conversations. I'll see y'all on Thursday morning. We got Jeff Bradshaw from Philadelphia, awesome trombone jazz artist, and we're going to be
Oh,
talking about his new music plus the issues of payola. That's what we're gonna do. All right, y'all. Whew. Love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Make it an exceptional day. Peace and blessings.